Welcome to The Explainer. Look, we hear a ton about AI, right? Well, today we're going to cut right through all that noise. We've got our hands on a massive study from OpenRouter. They analyzed over 100 trillion tokens of data. And trust me, what they found about how people are actually using AI, it's probably not what you think.
So, let's just jump right in and challenge a big assumption we all seem to have. We're constantly told that AI is this amazing productivity tool, right? It's supposed to be our digital assistant for work. But what if its biggest, most dominant use case has nothing to do with the office and everything to do with, well, play? The data has a pretty interesting story to tell.
And just so you understand the scale we're talking about here, the insights we're about to dig into, they come from a truly mind-boggling data set, 100 trillion tokens. This is not some small little survey, folks. This is a raw, unfiltered look at what millions of people are doing with AI every single day.
All right, so our first section here is all about agents, coders, and role players. And right away, the story that unfolds is pretty surprising. It shows that AI is evolving way beyond a simple chatbot into something much, much more complex and autonomous.
Okay, so the first myth we really need to bust is this idea that we're all just using AI like a glorified search engine, Just typing in questions and getting back answers. The reality? Oh, it's so much more sophisticated than that.
What we're really seeing is the rise of something the study calls agentic inference. And what that means is we're not just asking for simple one-off answers anymore. We're giving the AI a goal, and it's figuring out how to get there. It's planning, it's using tools, it's completing multi-step tasks all on its own. I mean, think about it. It's the difference between asking an encyclopedia, what is the capital of France, and telling an assistant, book me a trip to Paris.
And the data? It backs this up in a huge way. Just look at this. The amount of traffic going to models that are specifically built for complex reasoning, well, it's absolutely exploded. It went from almost nothing to now being over half of all AI usage. That's a massive shift. It tells us we've moved way beyond asking for simple facts. We're now asking, no, we're demanding that AI actually thinks for us.
So how is the AI doing all this thinking? Well, this chart gives us a big clue. We're seeing this steady upward climb in models that can call on external tools. That means they're not just stuck inside their own little box. They're reaching out, accessing databases, running code, talking to other apps. The AI isn't just a passive text generator anymore. It's becoming an active agent, the conductor of a whole orchestra of software.
And here's the final piece of the puzzle, the prompts themselves. The average length of what we're feeding into these models has grown 4 times over, a 4x increase. And you know what's driving that? Almost entirely programming tasks. People aren't just typing in a single sentence anymore. They're dropping in huge chunks of information, entire code bases, massive documents, and basically saying, here, analyze all of this, and then do something.
So, okay, all this complex agentic stuff is happening. But what are people actually doing with it? Well, this is where we get to what is, for me, the biggest surprise in the entire study. The expectation was pretty clear, right? AI was going to be all about office productivity, writing emails, summarizing reports, making presentations. But the reality, wow, it is something else entirely. And here it is, plain as day. The data just doesn't lie. The 2 biggest, most dominant use cases for AI are programming assistants and, get this, creative role play. I mean, who saw that coming? Together, these 2 things make up the vast majority of all the AI tokens being used. So yeah, AI isn't just the corporate intern we thought it would be. It's a top-tier coding partner, and it's also your dungeon master.
Okay, moving on to our next section, the open source revolution. Now, if the biggest uses for AI are coding and creativity, that begs a really interesting question. Who's actually building the models that are so good at these things? The answer, well, it might just surprise you. Here's another myth that's been floating around a lot, that the AI race is basically over, that a few big tech companies have already won and everyone else is just playing for scraps. But when you look at the data, you see a really powerful counter-narrative emerging.
Now, don't get me wrong, the big proprietary models still handle most of the traffic. But look at this. Open source models have been steadily climbing, and now they account for a massive 1/3 of the entire market. This isn't just some small niche thing happening in a corner. It is a major, major force that is reshaping the entire ecosystem.
And a huge piece of that open source story is the absolutely explosive rise of models coming out of China. We're talking about models that went from being a tiny blip on the radar, like 1 or 2% of usage, to grabbing nearly a third of the entire market some weeks. This happened in just a matter of months. That's not just a minor trend. That is a fundamental rewiring of the global AI landscape.
So what this all paints is a picture of an incredibly dynamic, fast-moving open source world. There is no single king of the hill. No one can just sit back and relax. New models can come out of nowhere and gain massive traction in just a few weeks. It really proves that to stay on top, you have to keep iterating, keep improving. It is a truly competitive and, frankly, exciting ecosystem.
All right, our final section, winning the AI race. So this brings us to the big question, right? In a market that's this chaotic and dynamic, how does any model actually win? The answer, as it turns out, is a lot more interesting than just be the best.
The study introduces this really cool concept they call the glass slipper effect, and the idea is pretty brilliant. Winning in AI isn't about being the best model at everything for everyone. It's about being the first model that perfectly solves one specific nagging problem for a group of users. When a model comes along and is that perfect fit, that glass slipper, it creates this incredibly loyal group of users who are really, really hard to pull away. Or, as the study puts it, this creates a lasting fit. And that makes total sense, right? I mean, once you're a developer and you've built your entire workflow, your entire product around the one model that finally solved your problem, the hassle of switching to something else is huge. Even if a new model comes out that's a tiny bit better or a little bit cheaper, it's often just not worth the effort to change. And this table here breaks down exactly how this plays out in the real world. You can basically see 4 different AI markets emerge. You've got your premium leaders, think models like Claude, that people trust for really critical tasks. Then there are premium specialists for very specific, high-stakes jobs. Down at the other end, you've got efficient giants like Gemini Flash that are built to handle massive volume at a super low cost. And finally, you have these niche utilities that are perfectly optimized for one specific cost-sensitive task. Every one of them has found its own glass slipper. So, let's wrap this all up. The new reality of AI looks a whole lot different than what we thought it would a year or 2 ago. We're living in a multi-model world. Our use of AI is becoming way more agentic. It's automated, not just conversational. And we've learned that some of the biggest use cases, like creative roleplay, came completely out of left field. Ultimately, success isn't about being the biggest or the best at everything. It's about finding that one unique, perfect fit.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question to think about. In the AI race, a race that is moving this fast and is this complex, what's actually the winning strategy? Is it better to be the absolute best, the cheapest? Or is it better to just be the first to offer that perfect glass slipper for a problem nobody else has solved yet?